Everything you thought you knew about Christine Brown and Cody Brown is about to be flipped upside down, because behind the smiles, the cameras, and the carefully edited moments, there's a storm brewing, a truth. No one expected, a twist that changes. Everything tonight, we're diving into the moment. Christine calls Cody a good man, and why that single phrase might be hiding a secret bigger than anyone imagined. Stay tuned, besties, because this story is about to explode. When the camera fades in, and Christine Brown's voice breaks through saying Cody is a good man, it feels like the air gets sucked out of the room, because for so long that sentence was unthinkable, and suddenly it's being said with a softness that makes you wonder what's really going on behind that smile. There's something about the way she says it that doesn't sound free, it sounds rehearsed, careful, measured, like she's walking on glass. And that's when you realize maybe this isn't about forgiveness. Maybe this is about survival. Because in that moment, Christine isn't just speaking to David. She's speaking to the world, to the court, to the producers, to everyone watching, trying to decode what she really means when she calls Cody good. And that's where the tension begins building layer by layer. A woman who fought so hard to leave suddenly calling her ex-husband good, a man who once shouted that he wished she didn't exist. And we start asking why, what changed, because love doesn't flip like a switch, and pain doesn't vanish overnight, especially when that pain was filmed, edited, and broadcast for millions to see. And as Christine tries to talk about memories and laughter, you can feel the weight of everything she's not saying, pressing through every pause, every forced smile, every careful glance toward David, who looks like he's holding back his own disbelief. The silence between them says more than words ever could. David knows something deeper, something unsaid, and his expression tells you this is not a man who believes the story being sold on camera. Because when Christine talks about Cody being good, David doesn't nod, he doesn't smile. He stays still, waiting for her to finish, like a man who knows there's a truth off camera that the audience can only feel, and that truth hums in the background. A low tension that never releases, because while Christine tries to sound positive, the audience remembers everything Cody has said and done, his outbursts, his anger, his declarations that he never wanted to see her again. And when Christine tries to paint a picture of peace, it almost sounds like she's doing it to keep the peace, a peace required by paper, by court, by law. And that's when the puzzle pieces begin to fit together. Whispers of a court order that forbade her from speaking badly about her ex for the sake of their child. And suddenly her praise feels less like love and more like compliance. It's a chilling reminder that in this world, words are currency and silence is survival. Because while the show plays soft music and smiles, the timeline tells another story. The real world in November 2024, when Cody Brown's house finally sold the same month, court papers were filed, sealed from the public record, hidden behind confidentiality and protection, and we realized that as Cody was filming scenes about letting go, he was actually being pulled into a legal storm, a custody battle wrapped in money and resentment that never made it to air, and the timing is too perfect to ignore. Because when he says he felt like a victim, when he calls himself angry, when he admits to aggression, it's not just confession, it's positioning. It's narrative control, an attempt to shift blame before anyone else can speak, and the irony is painful. Because the man who said he wanted to forget Christine was at that exact moment being forced to remember her in court papers and legal obligations and the financial realities of fatherhood. It's the kind of twist that reality TV can't script, because it's too real, too raw, too connected to everything that's at stake. And as the audience pieces this together, the tension deepens. Christine calling Cody a good man suddenly becomes part of a performance that none of us asked for. But all of us can feel a performance to protect her place, her peace, and most importantly, her child. Truly the quiet center of this storm, who probably doesn't see any of this, but somehow feels it the way children feel tension without understanding its shape. And that's where the heartbreak begins, because no matter how polished the scene looks, we all know there's a shadow hanging over it. A shadow shaped like court papers, deadlines, unpaid support, and words that can't be spoken without consequence. And so as Christine talks about good memories and laughter, you can almost see her holding back tears that never fall, pretending to remember happiness. So the camera will stop rolling and she can exhale again, and David sits beside her, silent, the mirror of what the audience is feeling. Because we're all wondering what happens when the cameras stop. Who she calls, what she says when she's finally off mic, the truth we'll never hear, but we can sense. And as the music fades out and the clip ends, That one phrase, "Cody is a good man," echoes like a question mark in a storm waiting to be answered. As the scene continues, the air thickens with the weight of everything unspoken. Because what Christine says next is almost too calm, too practiced. She repeats that Cody is a good person, that they shared good times, that remembering those moments is important, and that David would have fun with him. And it's the kind of line that sounds like something written for peacekeeping. Not truth-telling, David's face says it all. Though his eyes don't soften, his expression doesn't shift. Looks caught between disbelief and restraint, like a man trying not to start an argument on camera. He listens as she says they could all have fun in Moab, that she doesn't need to be there, that spending time with Cody doesn't mean she's condoning. His actions and every word feels heavy, like she's trying to walk a narrow line between truth and what she's allowed to say. Because behind those careful phrases is a story about control, about image, about the constant need to look okay for the world even when everything behind the curtain is chaos. And then you remember that this isn't just family drama. This is filmed entertainment, this is content for a network that thrives on conflict, wrapped in healing and tears that sell ad space. And you realize that maybe Christine isn't just protecting her child, she's protecting her paycheck, because silence isn't just safety. It's survival in a world where too much honesty could destroy everything. The show, the sympathy, the contracts, the control. So when she calls him a good man, it's not forgiveness, it's strategy. But David doesn't play along. His voice cracks through her calm, like lightning, as he reminds her that being around someone doesn't mean approving of their behavior, that as a father, he sees things differently. And it's the moment that truth starts slipping through the cracks of the performance, because David isn't bound by the same rules. He can say what Christine can't, he can refuse to rewrite history, and in that refusal, he becomes the stand-in for everyone watching, the person who says what we're all thinking, that good men don't do what Cody did to his family, to his children, to his marriage. And Christine's reaction is quiet, almost pleading, like she wants him to just agree and move on. Because this conversation isn't supposed to get real on camera. This is supposed to be a scene about peace, not about pain. But David doesn't let it go. And for a moment, the masks fall off, and what's left is raw truth. A truth that doesn't fit the script. And that's when you feel the tension rise, because you can sense the producers hovering just out of frame. The ones who love these moments of discomfort that turn into viral clips and talking points. But you can also feel the exhaustion on Christine's face, like she's trapped between what she wants to say and what she can say. And that kind of silence is its own prison, because how do you call someone good when you know the damage they've done? How do you pretend for peace when peace is the very thing that person destroyed? And as Christine tries to steer the conversation back to something lighter, David's voice stays steady and strong. It's not loud, but it carries weight. And for the first time in the scene, the balance shifts. He becomes the truth teller, the grounding force, the reminder that the world doesn't revolve around Cody's narrative, and the camera lingers on him longer than usual, almost like even the editors couldn't look away. Because his silence says more than any script could say. He isn't impressed by charm or forgiveness. He's watching carefully, like someone who's seen behind the curtain and knows that not everything on screen is what it seems. And that's where the suspense deepens. Because if Christine has to pretend that everything is okay just to stay safe, what else is being hidden? How much of what we see in these confessionals is truth? And how much is theater designed to soften the blow of a story that has already shattered families? Because the show might frame it as growth, as co-parenting, as maturity. But anyone who has lived through control and manipulation knows what it looks like when someone is forced to smile through the pain, and Christine's smile has that familiar ache to it, the kind that says she's saying what she must not, what she believes. And that's the most haunting part of all, because in that moment, we realize the story isn't just about Cody or Christine. It's about what happens when real people have to live inside a performance where every emotion, every word, every silence becomes a negotiation between truth and survival. By the time the next scene begins, you can feel that something has shifted. The mood is quieter but heavier, like everyone is pretending not to notice the weight pressing down on the edges of the room. Cody's words from earlier still echoing about how he never wanted to see Christine again, how he didn't want to think about her, how he wanted to erase her from his life. And yet here he is, still tied to her through a child, through money, through memories, and most of all through a court order that binds them even when they wish to be free. And that's where the story turns dark. Not in violence, but in silence. Because silence is its own kind of weapon in this world. The moment Cody's house sold in November 2024, a new battle began, one that wasn't filmed, one that was hidden behind sealed documents and quiet legal filings, a custody and support dispute that turned private pain into paperwork and public drama into legal strategy. And as we piece the timeline together, it becomes clear that while Cody was packing boxes and talking about closure on camera, he was also being served, and every word from that point forward sounds different when he talks about forgiveness. It sounds like defense when he admits anger. It sounds like preemptive justification when he plays the victim. It sounds like a calculated move to control the story before anyone else can speak. And that's the brilliance and the tragedy of it all. Because reality TV thrives on emotional storytelling. But in this case, the emotion itself was evidence, a weapon disguised as confession. And the people in the middle of it aren't actors. They're real parents with a real child caught between scripts and subpoenas, and the line between show and life disappears completely. Christine's calm tone now feels less like grace and more like fear, because when you know your words can be used against you, every syllable becomes a potential risk. And when she says Cody is a good man, you can almost see the footnotes, the silent disclaimers, the invisible fine print that says, I have to say this for now. Because sometimes the safest way to protect yourself is to play nice on camera. And the deeper you think about it, the more chilling it becomes, because the audience is watching this unfold thinking. It's about healing and moving on. But behind the lens, it's about control and damage control and who gets to tell the story first. Cody with his charm or Christine with her quiet resilience. And in that tension lies the real drama. Not the arguments, not the tears, but the power of silence itself. Because silence can look peaceful, but it can also be the sound of someone being cornered. And every time Cody smiles on screen, you can feel the pressure behind it. The need to look composed while everything is falling apart. And as he talks about needing space for truly turning an office into a guest room, it sounds like another illusion, a way to prove that he's trying without actually changing anything. Because if truly barely visits, why make the space? Unless the space itself is symbolic proof that he cares, and the audience sees through it, they always do. That's what makes this story so magnetic. The tension between what's shown and what's real, what's spoken and what's hidden, and in that space, Christine is walking a tightrope. A single misstep could cost her everything, her peace, her money, her custody agreement, so she keeps smiling, she keeps calling him a good man. Even when the world knows better, and David sitting beside her becomes the only person who doesn't buy it. The only one who still looks at Cody's behavior and refuses to call it good. Because fathers recognize the weight of fatherhood. They know what responsibility looks like, and they know when it's being avoided. And that's what makes David's quiet defiance so powerful. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's steady, it's real. It's the voice of truth standing in a room full of performance. And when he says that being around someone doesn't mean condoning their actions, it cuts through every layer of pretended peace, because it reminds us that forgiveness without accountability is just silence dressed up as healing. And that's the tragedy of this moment. The audience watching thinking they're seeing growth, when what they're really witnessing is restraint, forced by circumstance, filmed under the pressure of court orders and contracts, and you can feel the energy building towards something bigger, like a storm that's just beginning to form on the horizon, because this level of tension doesn't fade, it erupts. And when it does, it will change everything again. Because secrets like these never stay buried forever. They always find a way to the surface. And when they do, the world will finally see what's been hidden behind the smiles all along. As the last echoes of this story fade away, one truth remains: nothing on the surface is ever as it seems. Because behind every calm smile, every careful phrase, every claim of peace, there's a storm quietly waiting to break. The Sister Wives world has always thrived on moments like these. Moments where love, forgiveness, and control collide in silence, where every sentence feels like a negotiation between truth and protection. Christine's words calling Cody a good man were never just words. They were survival crafted under pressure, spoken for safety, and filmed for an audience that sees only half the picture, while the other half is sealed in court files and hidden emotions. And as David stands beside her, refusing to rewrite history, he becomes the reminder that truth has a way of resurfacing, even when buried under contracts and cameras. This isn't the end. It's the calm before the next storm, the space where the show's story ends, but real life continues in whispers. Because in this world, silence is louder than any confession, and the most shocking moments are the ones we never get to see. The truth will return, it always does. It just waits for the right moment to break through.